Okay, today we're going to talk about the joy of sales. Specifically, I'm going to share in this video about the 6 guideposts to effective, joy filled sales calls. Now, you might be listening to me thinking, Laura, what are you talking about? Joy and sales calls do not belong in the same sentence in my world. And if that's the case, I appreciate and respect that. And I used to feel that way too. That is absolutely no longer the case for me, though. I've done like a complete flip on that because I can congruently say and honestly and wholeheartedly say that sales calls are some of my most favorite thing to do. And here's why. Okay, here's why. I know that when I'm jumping on a sales call with somebody who's a prospect for Avalon Empowerment and for Evolved NLP training and for the type of work that we're doing, I'm meeting somebody who is most likely a really beautiful human being, a mission driven, heart led, impact driven entrepreneur, impact driven coach, somebody who wants to make a difference in the world. Why wouldn't I want to meet that person? Why wouldn't I feel joy when I consider meeting that person? So I'm really clear on who it is that I want to be jumping on a call with. And if anything else comes across my desk, I have no problem canceling that call and not jumping on the call if the person does not feel like a fit for us. So I would say, like, number one, you need to know who it is that you're talking to and remind yourself who you're talking to. And this actually leads me into the first guidepost for effective and joy filled selling. And the first guidepost is to have an intention. Okay. In the absence of intention, you wind up in tension. It doesn't feel good. Right? You don't want to be in tension coming into that call all frustrated and worried about what you're going to say or how you're going to sell. Like, that is not like how you're going to sell the thing should not be anywhere in your mental space or your heart space when you're just jumping on that call. Okay, so you need to have your way of doing intention. I have my own sort of process for energetically setting my space. Maybe you have crystals, maybe you have music, maybe you have singing bowls. I don't like whatever you have works. And maybe you don't have any of that stuff, but you just take some time to like sit and get inside of your heart and put it out there that you're meeting somebody amazing. Because chances are, if you're calling in the right dream client, you should be meeting somebody amazing. Right? So for me, what does that look like? For me, it looks like going through their application in advance, which generally happens before the call, but like right before the call, I go through it again. I really hone in on a couple of questions. My favorite question is the question on the application where we say, tell us one amazing thing about yourself, because we believe in sharing and declaring magnificence. And I love that. Sometimes the person will give like a 3-word answer. Sometimes they'll give 3 paragraphs. But some of the most beautiful answers come up on that. And I get to know something really special about this incredible human being before we even get on the call. And so I sort of try to tune in my heart to their heart and start kind of building rapport energetically before we're even on the call. And I love that. I also sort of get to know their goals and get an idea of what I'd like to learn more about. But aside from that, it's really just about being clear on why I'm showing up and what I want to see happen. So setting intention also includes if there's any scarcity stuff running, and listen, like, it's okay if there is. I get it. You're running a business, you have bills to pay, you need to do sales. And some months, maybe those sales are not coming in the way that you need them to. And that's when the scarcity stuff can start to creep in. But you really need to have an intention that no matter what your month end looks like right now or what your books look like, that does not penetrate this space that you're creating. Okay, because when that stuff starts to creep in, then you start to run the risk of getting pushy or doing things that you don't normally want to do, and it can cloud your decision making in the moment. So get really clear, and also remember that what you say no to defines you. Right? Sometimes you have to be willing to have the intention of holding the space for the right person, but understanding when not a great fit comes along. And that could mean referring them to somebody else. It could just mean saying, hey, I don't think we're a good fit. Okay. But number one is that you really, really want to get into your intention. Okay. Number two, you have to check your limiting beliefs at the door. You have to focus on your prospect. Sorry, I just had to flip my screen over. You have to focus on your prospect, not focus on yourself. Right? Make it all about them. When you have limiting beliefs running or when the voice in your head is creeping in, It's actually kind of selfish because you're focusing on you and what's going on for you. And when you're focused on the voice in your head, you can't be focused on the person that you're speaking to. Okay, so check your limiting beliefs at the door. And sometimes we'll say, well, that's easier said than done. I'd argue that it's really not. You can actually sit down and say, and this is the exact language that I would use, I would close my eyes and say, okay, dear unconscious mind, I get it. I get that this is new. I get that there's some stuff going on. I get that I am up against my own value or up against my worth, and that I'm challenging my financial set point or whatever it is that's going on for you, and say, and we'll deal with that later. But right now, um, I am choosing to be in this 100% for the other person. Right? And sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing that it's actually really selfish to be worried about you. Make it all about them. Make it all about them, and you'll find that it's actually a lot easier to let go of those limiting beliefs than you think. Number three is kind of tied to number two. Number three is being a physiology of excellence. Right? Physiology of excellence in NLP and in my world is really just about whatever is going on out there, outside of the walls of your space, outside of your Zoom screen, outside of your office, and outside of the present moment needs to stay out there. Because when it doesn't stay out there, it comes in and it shows up as part of your call. So I'll give you an example. Maybe you had a rough morning. There could have been an argument with a partner at home, or kids got a rough start, or it's crappy weather, you have a flat tire, whatever. Could be a million things going on that can affect you, right? But when you show up on that call, none of that stuff comes with you. So you need to actually take the time to consciously let go of all of that and get into the space that you need to get into. Now, we would practice things like anchoring or running different strategies, and I'm using some of the tools in NLP to do that. And you don't need to be formally trained to do that either. You can just sit down and close your eyes and imagine having the best day ever. Imagine everything going right. Imagine the people around you telling you how grateful they are for you, how wonderful you are. And then start thinking about the person that you're about to meet, and imagine that they're the most amazing person and you can't wait to meet them. And you're so grateful for the time that you're about to spend together. And no matter what, like, this is going to be the very best part of your day. And I promise you, when you do that, your physiology will shift. Right? But if you're bringing in all of the other stuff from the day, you're going to have hunched shoulders. You could be slumped down a little bit. You're could come out in your tone of voice, and you might sound kind of disinterested or distracted or whatever is going on. You need to check all of that at the door so that you can be in a physiology of excellence, right? That's what this person deserves from you. Next up is be interested, not interesting, right? Be interested, not interesting. What does that mean? It means be interested in who they are. Again, this is make it about them, not about you. One of their favorite acronyms in Avalon is KYBMS, right? Keep your big mouth shut. KYBMS, keep your big mouth shut. Ask questions. Let the person answer the questions. Let them tell you who they are. Yes, of course, you can share your passion for what you're doing. We would expect you to share your why. We expect you to share details about your program. But in the very beginning, it's really all about getting to know that person and asking them the questions that allows you to do that, because there's no way to even know if you have something that's worthwhile offering them until you get to know them, right? So be interested in who they are, not trying to be interesting yourself. That's huge. Number 5 is fear not the no. Right? There is this like conditioned programming in us that causes a fear of rejection, or that causes us to feel like we're not good enough if somebody says no, they're not interested. Meanwhile, no is wonderful. No is one of the best things that can happen on a sales call. No is infinitely better than a maybe, or a let me think about it, or an I'm not sure. Okay? No is infinitely better than all of that. And no is totally valid, because you're not going to be for everybody, nor would you want to be for everybody. If you were, what you had to offer would probably be really kind of boring if everybody wanted it. So it's okay that not everybody's going to want that. It's okay for them to say no, and it's okay for you to say no, right? And you can absolutely do that. No is a really good thing when it comes to sales. Number 6, this is all about you being in charge, right? This is about you being the one. You're running the show. It's your call. And your client, hopefully they're a client in the future, needs to know that you can hold space for them to do whatever work that they need to do with you, right? If you are not setting that tone from the very beginning, you're going to run into issues later. So, number 6 is about being in charge, communicating who's in charge, and that starts with setting an agenda. So, you set the agenda right off the bat. You don't want to be jumping on that call and being like, hey, so how's it going? Like, how are you? Tell me, what's going on? Like, no, you need to know what questions you're going to ask. You have to be prepared. This person is taking time out of their day to talk to you. You're probably a complete stranger, or maybe somebody that they've just heard about. If they're going to schedule the time and they're going to show up, and hopefully they will, then you need to be prepared, right? So you need to know exactly what kinds of questions you want to ask, exactly what kind of information you're looking for, and be able to communicate that right off the bat. So it could sound like, oh, hi, so and so. I'm so grateful to get the opportunity to chat with you today. I know that your time is valuable. I'm sure you know mine is too. So let's just set a quick agenda so that we're both on the same page. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. I want to get to know you, get to know more about whatever it is, maybe what they wrote in their application. And then I'm going to share with you the programs that we're offering here. And then finally, if there's anything I've missed, I'm going to absolutely answer any questions that you have. Does that sound good? And you're going to get agreement. And then you're going to stick to that agenda. All right. You will run into issues if you don't set the agenda. You'll run into issues if you start to flip the agenda around. So just make sure that you are in a confident and congruent place where you are setting the agenda and running the agenda, because that is going to be this relationship. You're the one who has to hold space. Now, that might seem sort of not like you, and maybe you prefer things to be organic and free flowing. But I want to remind you, especially true in our world anyway, in the world of transformational coaching, when you're doing transformational work and when you're coaching somebody, when you're working with their unconscious mind, here's what you need to know about unconscious minds. The unconscious mind operates like a 5 to 7-year-old. So I want you to imagine going into, like, I don't know, a first grade class with a bunch of 5, 6-year-olds there and having an organic, free-flowing, loosey-goosey agenda for the day. How is that going to go? It's going to be like total pandemonium by first recess, right? It's going to be total pandemonium. And the same thing happens for a person when they're going through a transformational process and nobody is setting an agenda, nobody is in control. You need to show up and be the person who can say, like, here's the parameters, here's how it's going to go. And that sets up the conditions for a safe space for the person to be able to do their work down the road. So set that agenda right from the beginning. So just to recap, number 1 is setting your intention. Number 2 is checking your limiting beliefs at the door. Number 3 is your physiology of excellence. Number 4 is being interested, not interesting. Number 5 is not fearing the no. And number 6 is being in charge. Okay? So hopefully you got some value out of that. If there is maybe one of them or 2 of them that you're like sucking at right now and you're just not doing, then focus on those and find people to do some mock calls with you. And really, really, really remember that if you're out there to help make change in the world, then chances are that the people that you're looking to connect with want to do the same thing at some level. And that's who you're attracting, is somebody who you can be deeply grateful for, who can be deeply grateful for you in return, so that you can create a better world together. I know that's my intention going into calls. I want it to be yours too. So hopefully you got some value out of this. And hey, if any questions or if you want to jump on a call with me, then go ahead and book something, because I would absolutely love to do that. And now you know what to expect. Okay, have a fantastic day.